if any of you were wondering, that was my exact reaction to this. I don't even know what to say. No, literally, I don't know what to say. If you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. I am literally exactly this. And I know everyone else is too, because, well, everyone on Tumblr's going nuts, obviously. They're not speechless. The people who know how to make GIFs and stuff, they are having a field day. And me, the talentless prune that I am, are just sort of sitting, reblogging them all, like, yes! And fainting, obviously. And I don't even know where to start talking about this. I knew that this episode was going to be difficult to do a first thoughts episode on, because there isn't one first thought or two first thoughts. There's many first thoughts. And I don't know where to even begin taking this episode apart. Let's start from the beginning, okay? Clary's mum is still unconscious, and they need to try and figure out how they're going to wake her up. And they think that a warlock more powerful than Magnus has created a potion that would be able to knock her out if Valentine never found her. So obviously the first Malec scene that we get in the Malec episode is Alec going to ask Magnus if he knew any possible warlock that could have done this. Now, the scene that followed that has had a lot of controversy which I will discuss in Fair and Unbiased. Yes, that means that my more in-depth review of this episode will actually have a very dark theme because of the disgusting things that people have been saying about Magnus. And it really bothers me that this episode that I've been really excited for is being tainted by a pack of idiots saying idiotic things that they don't even know what they're saying. But sadly, it has to be discussed, and you will probably see me raging really, really hard. But I want to keep at least one video positive about this episode. And it's not even the episode, it's the people that's bad, that's negative, it's the people who are watching the episode and saying these horrible, horrible things. So I'm going to leave that scene alone until Fair and Unbiased, because sadly I can't talk about it without talking about the ridiculous things that some idiots are coming up with that they think is validating their opinions on Magnus and validating how they don't think that Malec is a legit ship. So sadly, Fair and Unbiased will have a very dark turn when I get to that, but since this is first thoughts, I'm going to leave that scene alone, and we're going to move on to the rest of the episode and just sadly discuss that later. After that scene, Magnus and Alec have a lot of tension, so they try and keep themselves apart, and Magnus has to go to the Institute to talk to Clary and Jace and Hodge about Ragnar, Katarina, and yes, Tessa Gray. Now, I haven't read the Infernal Devices because I'm not a fan of the love triangle trope, but I understand that Tessa Gray means a lot to you people. It sounds awful, no, to Infernal Devices fans, and I'm sure seeing her there on the screen was very exciting. And again, it shows how much detail that Shadowhunters writers are putting into this, because not only did we have Ragnar, who's essential to the plot of this episode, we had Tessa and Katarina. Now, I know that there's people who are probably upset about the fact that Ragnar wasn't green, because people who read the books know that in the same way that Magnus's eyes are cat eyes, Ragnar is completely green. And I'm kind of bothered by it as well, but I'm not going to get, like, my knickers in a twist about it, if you know what I mean. I'm just like, sometimes it happens. Not everything can be the same. And I just sort of like to think about it as this, for people who haven't read the books, Katarina, the other photograph who's on the screen, when she wears a glamour so that she can work in mundane hospitals, and when she wears a glamour, she's black. So maybe Ragnar was wearing a glamour? I can't remember if it mentions if he does or not in the books, but maybe he was. I mean, I know it still doesn't make sense that he was wearing it when he was on his own, but sadly, maybe it was just a mistake or something that they left out, and they're allowed to make mistakes. And at this point in the season, I think that they're allowed to make a few mistakes, and whether they made him green or didn't make him green, it wouldn't have changed the plot, and that still doesn't excuse it. And I can only chalk it down to a mistake, and I'm not going to get angry about it. I'm irritated, obviously, but I'm not going to get all oh, he's not green about it. There's no point. Definitely not at this rate, and definitely not as good as this episode was. So yeah, it is what it is, and sometimes this sort of thing happens. You got some Sizzy in there as well. It was very brief Sizzy, but you got Sizzy. Simon and Isabel got to talk after how many episodes since? I think the last time they talked was when they were saving Meliorn in episode 9, and that was very obviously curt because Isabel was kind of you save Meliorn, so never got the proper Sizzy. So I'm glad that people who ship Sizzy finally got their Sizzy moments, and even if it was brief, at least it's still there. And hopefully, as the seasons progress, you'll get more and more of that. Magnus's past was also explored, and I loved that. I really, really loved that. I mean, I remember when I think it was the Shadowhunters writers tweeted that they loved the Bane Chronicles. I thought they were just, teasing us maybe, or maybe referencing to certain Malec moments that happen in the Bane Chronicles. Oh, for anyone who doesn't know, obviously, the Bane Chronicles is kind of like a sub-series to the Mortal Instruments, but it revolves around Magnus, and it tells different anecdotes from different parts of his life, of his 800 or 400 years. And near the end, there's a couple of Malec moments and a couple of Malec stories, but nothing substantial. Nothing apart from the first date. You get the first date, but that's pretty much it. You never get any solid development apart from maybe a questioning whether they're solid or not. That's pretty much it. But in this episode, we see details from the Bane Chronicles. You get this in the Bane Chronicles. You get the story of the little guitar thing, that Magnus was about to play in the episode, and Ragnar was like, "Oh God, don't!" Yeah, you get that. That's part of the Bane Chronicles. A couple of stories about Magnus's past with Camille was in the Bane Chronicles, and there was just so much detail that I was just astounded by. I think this episode is one of the episodes that has the most detail from something that isn't part of the television series. Not the television series, the book series that the television series is based off. And that's just, I'm blown away, honestly, by how much thought they're putting into this and how much they're considering what we want to see and what will make us go, oh, that's from that. And it just shows how much they care about us and how much they care about what we think and how the feedback we will give. And knowing that they care about us in that way makes this series all the more special, and it makes it all the more important that it stays on the air. So let's talk about the main event. Let's talk about the wedding, okay? Okay. Obviously, they released a lot of clips. Freeform, for some reason, decided, let's release more clips than usual for this episode, and they tried to almost ruin it. I was baffled by that they released not just one, but 2 clips from the wedding. Either that, or the first clip I watched got cut off too early, and what happened afterwards progressed onwards from that. But I was astounded that they showed anything from the wedding at all, and I wouldn't necessarily say it ruined it, but they could have very much left it alone. But it didn't ruin the experience for me. It definitely didn't. We had so much going on. Like, there was the tension between Jace and Clary because they're brother and sister, and it's like, oh my god, I fancy my sister when I keep staring at her and she keeps staring back, and it's really awkward, but we're still doing it. And there's Isabel, who obviously doesn't really think that this wedding is going to work out, but she wants Alec to be happy in his own decision, so she's letting him do it. There's Lydia, who knows about Alec's feelings for Magnus, but she was going to go ahead with the wedding anyway because she knows that it's his decision as well, and she can see the benefits in the wedding too. There's Maris and Robert, who for some reason, in relation to the books, their roles seem to have swapped. Unless, of course, they're building Maris up to seem like she's a big, bad person and Robert is nice, and I'm not going to say anything in which to ruin what actually goes on between the parents and the Lightwoods, and that shows what they're really like. But I think that we shouldn't panic about how Mara seems like a bad guy just yet, because I feel like they're working towards something. And now, at this point in episode 12, I trust these guys wholly and completely, especially since they didn't make Lydia the bad guy, because another clip that they released was them suspecting Lydia, and I was just like, no, don't do it. But they didn't. And what they actually did was something that I suspected. I thought that, obviously, since we found out at the end of the episode that it's Hodge, which obviously I knew from the books, Hodge is the one working with Valentine. He's the mole. And I kind of thought, well, obviously they aren't going to immediately suspect Hodge. Hodge has practically raised them since they were children, so they're not going to go, hey, maybe it's Hodge, over this woman that they barely know, that sort of barely know. They know less than everyone else in the Institute. So it sort of makes sense, and that's kind of what I thought was going to happen, but obviously I couldn't say, especially in my old videos, because I couldn't ruin it, because I'm talking about the TV show and not the books, and I couldn't go like, oh yeah, you know the way Hodge is the bad guy in the books, so it's probably going to happen in a TV series too, because that wouldn't have been fair to anyone who watches who hasn't read the books, and besides, as I said in the first video, I'm reviewing the TV series and not the books. The Malec moment, I cried. I'm not ashamed to say I cried. I cried and I cried. I cried as I was sitting there watching it, and Magnus comes in, which I knew from the sneak peek, the promo thing that they released, and I was like, okay, you can do this. You're calm. You're cool. You're collected, even though the past has never proven that. If you had seen me, 2013 me was a wreck with this sort of thing, but this time I thought it was very good. I mean, I had to wait like 2 hours because I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning because the episodes are usually up by then. But for some reason today, there just decided to be a delay, and everyone on Tumblr was just like, what the fuck's happening? And I was like, I don't know what's happening. And it was maddening. Out of all the episodes for this to happen, it happens with the Malec episode. Why not? Obviously. Of course it's going to be the Malec episode that the episodes come out late. Why not? That was really frustrating, but it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was just sort of sitting watching it, and I was like, okay, Erin, you have a semblance of self-control. You can watch this. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. So Magnus comes in, Alec looks, and then he turns to Lydia and he's like, I can't breathe. And I was like, dude, me too. Don't worry about it. I can't breathe either. And Lydia, bless her little heart, was so understanding. It was amazing. She's amazing. Have I talked about how amazing Lydia is? I don't think I have. Yes, Lydia was just amazing about it. She's like, it's okay. Take a breather, mate. We got all day. We're sweet. And he's like, I can't do this. And she was like, I know. And she's like, it's okay. Go. I was like, you the MVP. I love you, babe. Thank you. Because everyone ships it. Even the person that Alec is supposed to be marrying ships it. And he just gets off that altar and walks down the aisle and, well, he doesn't push his mum out of the way. That would be awful to sort of push her back into her seat like, bitch, sit the fuck down. No. That would have been a bit funny though, but I'm gonna go there. And they kissed. Alec kissed Magnus, which was something that we all said that we wanted to see. We wanted Alec to kiss Magnus and not Magnus to kiss Alec. There goes my phone again. There would be plenty of time for Magnus to be able to kiss Alec first, but we needed this moment where Alec decides, yes, this is what I want. This is my life. This is my happiness we're talking about, and I'm going to kiss the brains out of this bloody warlock, and it goddamn kills me. And it didn't kill him. It killed us. We are all dead. I've went to Tumblr and everyone's dead. So many gifs of the same scene and I don't care. My Skype picture is now them kissing. My friend Neve is going to wake up with a big long list of messages of me saying, what the hell, I've waited 3 years for this and I still wasn't prepared. What the hell, my babies, my beautiful babies. And literally 2 lines of just the letter A. Because I'm perfectly normal. But yes, it was a beautiful moment, and there's so many details that were just perfect. The fact that Alec kissed Magnus, and even when he pulled away, Magnus didn't force it on him. He let him decide if he was going to go back for it, and he did, because obviously it's Magnus, and he's the great kisser ever. Of course, Alec is going to come back for it. And everyone was just watching, and everyone watching on Freeform and Netflix were like, and Simon just came up afterwards and embodied what we were all thinking. He just fanboyed all over the place. And Magnus found it amusing. Alec was like... But it was nice to have Simon there representing the fangirls. It's like, good on you, Simon. You tell them how much we ship it. You let them know. And it was just perfect. I couldn't have asked for anything more. And now that they're together, just thinking about all the things that are going to happen, the little touches, the little kisses, the little smiles towards each other because they're not afraid anymore, they don't have to hide anymore. It's just so beautiful and so amazing, and it makes me want season 2 to come so fast, even though episode 13 hasn't even happened yet. It's just, oh, how am I going to go back to school next week? I feel like next week I'm still going to be thinking about this, and I'm going to be stuck in college like, Malec. That is a representation of what's going on in my brain. Malec. You all know what I'm talking about. You've been through it too. I know you have. And when you see how happy Alec is afterwards, near the very end, when his parents are talking to him and they walk away and they talk about the first date, he is the happiest we have seen him all season, and that is so beautiful. He's finally able to be himself. Finally. And we are so, so happy for him. So, so happy. So perfect, okay? I feel like that sloth lady from Ellen DeGeneres' show who was talking about how her life had been waiting for this moment. This is my sloth. This was my sloth. That is a weird thing to compare it to. That'll be the next meme. This is my sloth. Sadly, this is the beginning of what I call Camille's interference. What I think is going to be the beginning of Camille's interference. I can't say what Camille's interference is, because obviously people haven't read the books, but people who have read the books know what I'm talking about when I say Camille's interference. Camille's such a bitch, I hate her. If there was an election, I would vote Raphael. Even if Camille was a good person, I would vote Raphael. And I'm glad that bitch is in a coffin, but I have a feeling they're going to have to get her out, and it's just going to be like, oh, do you have to? It's like, she abused Simon, little bitch. It's like, you abuse my Simon, you abuse me. I'll come after you. I sound like such a freaking farmer there. I'll come after you. But yeah, it's the beginning of what I think is Camille's interference, and that just ruins everything when you think about what that is. But as I say, I can't say what it is, and it's just something I'm gonna have to deal with, tragically. Book timeline wise, the series has gone very here's this, here's that, from this book, from that book, from here and the other, and I don't know how many people feel about that, but I think they're doing it okay. For anyone who doesn't know from having read the books, and I'm not going to do this all the time, it just seems like something that might cause a lot of controversy because people think that it's going to be season 1, book 1, season 2, book 2, season book 3, book 3. That's not what's happening here. If you're considering reading the books, then you're not going to get everything that's happened to season 1 in book 1. I'll give for instance, in book 2, that's when Simon turns into the vampire. Not book 1, book 2. He gets kidnapped by the vampires in book 1, but he doesn't turn into a vampire until book 2. Alec doesn't kiss Magnus in front of anyone until book 3. Like, literally anyone. But then in the books, we never got a lot of the Malec relationship anyway. As I previously said in different episodes, if the TV show went the way the books did, we'd get one episode of Malec with none of those little moments. None of Magnus calling Alec up, none of them talking to each other, none of that. No, there would be none of it. So in some ways, we're glad that they're taking these little bits out and putting it into season 1, and it won't change anything. It won't change the plot, it won't change anything. It'll be fine, because then it'll continue to do and take little pieces out, because there's still 3 more books after the first 3. So 3 more to go by. Then there's the sub-series, there's the Brain Chronicles, there's the Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, there's the Dark Artifices, is it called? I'm not reading it because I'm a bit done with CC, but I'm not gonna go into that. And then there's the Infernal Devices as well. There's so much to be able to work with that we shouldn't be worried about the book timeline unless it royally fucks something up, but it hasn't. They're doing fine, and they're taking little bits out and they're just making it their own, and I think that's great, and they're doing it really well. I was a bit worried at first because they killed Ragnar in the episode, and I was like, when did that happen again? But that I just remembered that I thought that Ragnar survived longer because he's in the Bane Chronicles. He's in those little stories about Magnus's past, and you can probably tell from the episode from how much he knew about Magnus's past. But he was in the little episodes. He was in the little stories from Magnus's past, the one with the guitar, the ones about Camille, the ones. Just he was in a lot of them, and so was Katarina, but we haven't really met Katarina properly yet. Hopefully we will in the future. But because of that, I thought that he had a lot more of a bigger role in the Mortal Instruments than he actually did. He does die in the book series, and I completely forgot about that until I watched it, and I was like, they killed him. But then I was like, oh yeah, that fucking happened. And it made me really sad, because then I remembered the Bane Chronicles, and I was like, no, Ragnar. Trust me, if you read the books, you'll love Ragnar. He's a grumpy shit, but he's a grumpy shit that we love, because he looks after our wee baby Magnus. And so does Katarina. They're honestly just the best threesome ever. The Three Musketeers, that's what they are. They are the warlock version of the Three Musketeers. We got Ragnar, we got Katarina, and we got Magnus, and you know that Magnus is the one that's always dragging them into trouble, because he is. He's the one who just drags them all into trouble, and they all have to go after him, and that's how all these stories start. I think the first book in the Bane Chronicles is about how Magnus wants to become a pirate, and he drags Ragnar along with him, and that's just brilliant. Honestly, if you don't even want to read like the Mortal Instruments, I would recommend reading the Bane Chronicles, because not only do we get that, we get a story in I don't know what time it was. It was around the time when Valentine was first starting out, and Maris and Robert come to Magnus for help, and Maris says, you gotta help me, I need a better world for me and my son. Her son being Alec. Alec was only a baby at this point, and it's just fantastic. But Magnus turns around to her and says, I don't care about the world you want, and I don't care about your doubtless repellent brat, might I add. God, does he regret those words now? And I'm sure it'll come up eventually, especially if Maris is as angry as she is in the TV show. She'll bring it up, just like, oh, you don't care about my doubtless repellent brat, huh? Now you're kissing him. Oh my god, I just think it's great. I definitely recommend reading the Bane Chronicles, even if you didn't want to read the Mortal Instruments, because anything to do with Magnus ensues hilarity. He just leaves funny anecdotes and stories in his trail. It's just how he goes, and it's just really fun to read. And you don't even need to know anything about the future of the Mortal Instruments or anything about that. You can just read the Bane Chronicles, and it would be totally worth it. But back to the TV show, I went off on a bit of a tangent there. But back to TV show, this episode was just amazing, and I still can't comprehend that I've waited 3 years for this, and I finally got it. And I sort of just spent a while after watching the episode, like, I finally got it. And it's not just about the fact that it's Malec, it's the fact that it's an LGBT couple, an LGBT couple that I know have touched a lot of people's lives. We finally get to see them together. I'm sure it's great in the TV show that we get to see Clary and Jace together and kissing, and then finally the brother and sister get to see Isabel kissing Mary Lauren and shit and all that stuff. But it has always been a given that there's sort of a special, I don't know what to put it, a special place in most people's hearts for Malec. I know there are people who don't ship Malec, and sometimes they're trolling and they're posting on the Malec tags like, dude, if you don't like it, write anti-Malec or something. I mean, what the hell? But Malec has touched a lot of people's lives. I know personally, if you watched my previous Fair and Unbiased video, you'll know that I talked about the importance of Malec to me, and the importance to Malec to anyone who has ever struggled with coming out or being who they want to be. These characters show that it's not all just about hiding in the closet. It's not just about being stuck and being like, I don't want to come out, because Alec was never afraid of who he was. He just knew that he couldn't, in the position that he was in, he couldn't come out. He couldn't be happy because he had to worry about his family and put his family first. And that is something that is baffling, because normally when you see gay representation, it's normally about like, oh, he's in the closet, but if he comes out, everyone's gonna be like, oh, you're gay. And it's like, I'm gay, but I don't want to be. I'm gay because. And those stories are great. I'm not making fun of those stories. They're great, but it's about time when you get to see gay characters that have a story that's not about being gay, that isn't about coming out. And maybe this episode seems to dispose that because it's about Alec finally getting to accept himself as a gay man and being able to kiss Magnus in front of everyone. But if you consider all the episodes that have led up to this one, you know that it wasn't all just about him wanting to come out. It was about defending his family. It was about ensuring the family name remained strong. It was about politics. It was about the clave. It wasn't just about being stuck in the closet. In fact, being stuck in the closet was probably on the bottom of Alec's list through most of the season. And you could tell that by how he didn't even bring it up himself. I mean, he didn't bring it up, and even when Clary brought it up to him, it was just kind of like deflecting it off, like, we don't have time to talk about this sort of thing. Not in the I'm not gay sort of way. It was like we don't have time to be talking about this sort of way. And the only reason that he was defensive about it was because of his love for Jace, and that is one of the only reasons why I think he was really defensive about his sexuality. I never for a second did I think that he was ashamed of who he was or embarrassed about who he was. I'm sure he was well aware that he was gay. I'm sure he was well aware that if he came out, his family probably wouldn't be too happy. Well, as I say, his family, more just Maris and Robert, because Isabel was all for it. Isabel is the number one Malec shipper. I mean, she invited Magnus to the wedding. I mean, what more do you need? But yeah, you just get what I'm trying to say here. We need more of this. We need more of these characters. We need more strong, independent LGBT characters who have plots of their own, stories of their own, who get to be with who they want to be with, and it not being all about getting to be with that person. Like, their whole storyline isn't about being gay, and that's just great. And I just love this episode, and it's really a bummer that I have to talk about a really dark thing in Fair and Unbiased, but I suppose it's just how it is. So I gotta get off. I've been talking for way too long. I have so much more I could say. So see you later, Shadowhunters, and sadly we must discuss that disgusting thing in Fair and Unbiased. So just keep thinking about Malec until then, and ignore the haters. It was a fantastic episode, and see you later. Bye.
Really sweet.
He certainly did. My entire life had been waiting.